Hi everybody! I hope you're all doing well. I'm going to be getting connected with Reggie the African Alien today. So I met Reggie a couple years ago. I had bought some markers and some fancier paper. It's thicker than your average paper, and I just started coloring. And I went through a series of different pictures. And I made one of a, like, what I called Star Girl and Praying Mantis, and they just kind of created themselves. I made a gnome. I think Harry the Gnome was what his name was. It's been a long time. Anyway, the last picture I ever did was an African, and this emanation really touched my heart a lot. And I felt that this African's name was Reggie, and it was just absolutely, it was really special for me. And I didn't really know what to do with all of these pictures, but maybe channel them or find out more about them. And I did channel Reggie the African Alien a long time ago, and I did recently channel him, but I haven't done anything since then. So I'm going to go ahead and relax here and see what Reggie would like to share with all of us today. Okay. So I'm just getting connected. I will say there's a lot of intense energy in my heart, and it's a bit exhausting around my shoulders and my arms. I feel exhausted around my head. And I see what is, I'm in a tunnel, and it's a lot of soil around, like I'm an ant in an ant home, and then I'm going through a tunnel. And there before me, there's lots of green weeds or green roots. There's so many, I won't be able to get through the tunnel. They're blocking the way. So I'm just waiting right now. I feel there's just so much valuable meaning to this image. It means a lot to my heart. And I don't know what it means. You ever feel something so meaningful that you really can't even put your finger on how it could mean that much, or what it is all about exactly, but you do know it means something special to you? That's what all the energy feels like right now. Very special to me. And I decide to turn around and look back at where I had come from. And I experience feeling lost and not sure which way to go. Could I go forward? Do I have the strength to cut through all that stands in my way? Do I go back the way I came? It feels quite dismal, but that too is a pathway. We can always walk through our past. And we often do walk through our past, even in our present, and even in the future, we're still walking through the past. So what do I do? I ask Reggie that question. What do I do, Reggie? He asks if it is for him to decide. And I tell him that for many years of my life, it's always been for me to decide. And I always pick my own path. Whether I liked that path or I didn't like that path, I felt like I had to always follow my heart no matter what happens. But why does it always have to be about me having to figure this whole thing out? Why couldn't I get an opinion sometimes? And I say it's not for you to tell me which pathway to choose, but perhaps, Reggie, you have an opinion, maybe a suggestion, an idea, something I didn't see before. I experience him really, really high up, so I decide to leave this place and I go closer to where he is. I reached what is like a bird's nest, but it looks kind of like a beehive, but there's lots of twigs that come together to create it. And there's a hole, and I go into the hole in order to see what is inside. I feel like there's always so many barriers, so many blocks, so many challenges into getting where it is that I want to go. And he says to me that perhaps you perceive your pathway as a challenge. Where is it that you actually want to go in your life? Why can't the pathway be where it is that you want to go? It's a really meaningful point. I'd really love to get your feedback on this. Why can't the pathway be where it is that you want to go? Aren't there always factors in the way? There's people that matter, and those people inspire us to stay in certain places or continue to focus energy on certain things. And life isn't necessarily about what it is that I want. It's about what is the most flexible choice, what is best for everybody, right? So this is an interesting idea. Why isn't the pathway that you choose for yourself? Why isn't it where you want to go? He asks if it was the universe that created the pathway with all these weeds in the way, all these roots that make it so challenging. Was it the universe that gave you this other pathway to go back into your past? How come the universe only gave you 2 options and both of them were not what you wanted? Is it the universe that gave you these 2 options? Where is the pathway that you wanted, that you have always wanted? How come that pathway isn't there? Does the universe not want that pathway for you? Or do you not want that pathway for yourself? Do you not believe that pathway could be real for you? And perhaps then, if you cannot believe that pathway could be real, perhaps that's why the pathway is not real. I feel a really tight energy in my heart, and my heart is in pain. I feel my heart is in pain. This isn't a message for Abby. This is a message for us, for our collective. This is Reggie's message for everybody. And we got to explore the meaning of this as it relates to each and every one of us in our own unique and individual ways. We're all going to have a unique perspective of what this translates to. And I feel a pain in my heart, a pain within our hearts, within the human heart. And it's hard to get that pain out. I can't just reach my hand in and pull out that thorn. It's an energy thorn. It's an energy rock. It's an energy thing. How do you pull out an energy thing with a physical hand? How do you make the hurt go away? I choose to sit down here between the 2 pathways. And I choose to let go of any ideas that I once held on to as best I can. In my conscious mind, I say, I'm going to choose a pathway that I always wanted. Even if I still feel this rock in my heart and I still experience the 2 pathways that are difficult, I must create my own pathway, the pathway to what it is I always wanted. So I start to create a white pathway. it looks like snow, a pathway made out of snow. And when I step onto the pathway of snow, I'm wearing winter clothes. I'm warm, so the snow doesn't affect me. I say, I never thought that the pathway I always wanted would be covered in snow. That is so strange. It's like I'm gonna go visit Santa Claus. It feels full of promise, actually. It feels like it's full of presents and gifts. Literally, like I'm going to visit Santa Claus's elf shop, the factory where all the toys are made. Feels like a pathway full of gifts. And it's warm and it's not treacherous, and I have everything I need for this pathway, and it's open to me. And all I had to do was choose the pathway I always wanted as the only pathway that is actually real, that exists. And I'm on it right now, and I didn't think it could be this easy. How is it this easy? I'm going to challenge Reggie. I say, this feels good. This feels great. I'm standing in my dream come true. But how do we transition this dream come true to our physical reality? How do we create this? How do we manifest this? The pathway that any of us always wanted. I'm also talking to him about something else. I tell him about, as a human being, we think we know what it is that we want. And oftentimes we want to come into a lot of money and all of our problems will go away. That's one thing a lot of people want. Isn't that the pathway we've always wanted, is a pathway to financial freedom? Is that the pathway to truth? And is the pathway to truth something deeper than we could ever access in our own minds? Perhaps depth isn't all that important. Perhaps life could be simple. Perhaps life could just be everything you always wanted it to be. Perhaps there doesn't have to ever be a choice. And if there's never a choice, then we'll never learn anything more than what we have. We'll always have more, because that is the pathway we always wanted, to have more. Talking to him about why it can be difficult to understand what he means by we just create the pathway we always wanted. How do you just do that? I've wanted many things in my life, and I'm quite certain I created that pathway, but it led me to very difficult places. Why did it lead me to difficult places? Why didn't it lead me to the promised land of my dream come true? He smiles at me. He sends me a meaningful message that only somebody who was well-traveled could respond in such a complex way. What happens when you no longer have a pathway you always wanted, because the only pathway that truly exists for you is the pathway to know thyself. And the pathway to know thyself does not guarantee financial freedom. It doesn't guarantee the love of your life. It doesn't guarantee all those warm and good memories that we all want. So I come back to the part of me that's sitting in between the two pathways, one to the left, one to the right. Pathway to the right is the pathway to the past, and the pathway to the left is a difficult pathway. And I tell Reggie that I'm not going to go back the way I came, because if I go back the way I came, I'm only moving into the present and the future with more of the same experiences. And I want to move on from those experiences. And my pathway to know thyself has taken me to this point. And I feel satisfied and continuing to see where this pathway leads me. I have to trust. I have to trust in this. I have to trust that in all my life and all my choices, that they had meaning, precious meaning. And that precious meaning is what has manifested this precious moment. To stand before this densely rooted, jammed up tunnel. Reggie watches me from what is like a bird's nest, but it's far, 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 far beyond a bird's nest. That was only like a pit stop to get to where Reggie is. And so I start walking towards all these roots, and for some reason I start to discover a special ability or a special gift, and I started to glow really, really, really hot. And I actually walk straight through all the roots, and they all dissolve. They burn up and dissolve around me, and I didn't even have to try. I just kept walking, and I walked through all of that jam, all that block, all that intimidation that this was going to be yet another hard trying pathway. He kind of laughs and he says, "We're not walking back into your past, Abby. We're walking forward beyond the past." And what he is alluding to is all the trying and difficult pathways of my past, and how I'm moving on from that, how I'm walking forward on a pathway to something new. Doesn't take so much of all that I am in order to survive it. This is an unknown pathway still. It's the pathway not yet traveled, he says. And it's freeing, but it is dark. And it is unknown. But it goes upward at a slant, at a slight angle. And I have no idea which way to go. I feel there's a mirage of doors that open and close, but I can never really see which door. I can't really access any of these doors. I feel like there's doors here, and all I really know what to do is put one foot in front of the other, and that's basically it. He says life can be freeing when you choose to trust. Just put one foot in front of the other. If you don't know what to do, just put one foot in front of the other. Just put one foot in front of the other, he says. He says you are guided. And he shows me how at the beginning I was saying that it would be nice to get somebody else's opinion for once, a suggestion. And he's alluding to, this is my opinion, this is me suggesting, this is me helping you. You just have to trust and put one foot in front of the other and know that you are guided. Know that you are guided. And he says it's okay if in life you feel blind, because you are guided. You are always guided. And I start to discover I'm moving between dimensions. I'm moving through dimensions. it's the experience of it is the pathway disappears, and I start moving through sheets of dark, dark, dark. The next wall of darkness, darkness, darkness. And I have no idea where my feet are. I can't even see myself, but I feel the movement of myself moving forward through dimensions. And this is infinite numbers of dimensions, infinite numbers of consciousness, infinite numbers. This isn't like first, second, third, fourth, fifth dimension, 10th dimension. No, this is infinite dimensions. My consciousness is a part of literally everything, but they're all based on ideas and perspectives. So I'm moving through them in order to access a new version of my own identity and who I want to be or who I want to become. And moving through dimensions of my own identity. He shows me something interesting, and it's like back in the old days when the library had a card catalog and you would go look through, and he shows me a card catalog pulled out, and he goes, Abbey, 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 Abbey. Like there's like thousands of Abbeys, and they're all different dimensions of myself. Which one do I want? Which one? Do I want this Abbey? Do I want to be this Abbey? Do I want to be that Abbey? Which Abbey do I want to be? I don't know. But this is where it comes back to know thyself, the pathway to knowing thyself. Sometimes we don't know ourselves. We don't know which version of ourselves we really want to be. So we just allow the heart, we allow that guidance to take us deeper and deeper and deeper into our own identities. And it's not always going to make sense. You're not always going to just pick out who you want to be and then go find that person, that part of yourself in the library. Sometimes it's an unknown journey, and you have to just trust in where it is taking you. He's saying a big message for everybody watching, and he says, I am proud of you. And when he says the words, I'm proud of you, he is showing himself literally saying thank you to every single soul that has walked this earth, that has given it a try, the best try that they can. No matter how they tried, no matter which pathways they took, whether they chose to know thyself or they chose to find abundance or chose to fall in love or whatever the choice was, he says, thank you for giving it a try. Thank you for giving this world a try, he says. I'm proud of you. Because he's alluding to how hard it can be. It starts to get easier and lighter and brighter, and I start to make sense of my world. I actually start to make out details. I have come above the surface, so I'm not underground now. I'm above the surface, and I see grass. It's very plain. I don't really see lots of trees. I do hear birds chirping. I feel sunlight upon me, and I'm in a whole new world. And I've been looking at dirt tunnels for a long time, and now I'm not. Now I'm looking at sky, I'm looking at grass, I'm hearing birds singing. I've accessed a whole new world. I did it. I got myself here. I put one foot in front of the other, and look at where it took me. I made it here. The funny thing is when I make it here, I ask the question, well, where do I go next? And it's funny because we're always going to ask that question. Where do I go next? Where do I go next? Do you ever think that when you finally reach that place that you always wanted to be, that you just won't go anywhere else anymore? Or will you find yet another reason to go yet down another pathway, you know? So you think that after you win the lottery, there's nothing else you'll have to do in your entire life. Nothing, but just enjoy life now. But even still, you'll find yourself heading towards new pathways of self-discovery, no matter what. So don't ever try to decide what it is that you need in order for your life to be complete. Because even if you were to acquire that thing, you will always desire new experiences. So you'll never be exactly where you ever wanted to be, because you'll always continue to grow. always. So don't ever decide what you have to have or where you need to be in order to finally be happy, is what he's saying. And again, I hear him say from very, very, very far away, he says, I am proud of you. And he sends hugs to literally all of us. He sends big hugs to all of us. And it's really warm and really lovely, very kind. So easy to receive a hug. He shows me that from these deep tunnels, many humans find their way out of the dark tunnels. And many of them find their way to this surface, this new world. And the light shines bright. And we start to meet each other. We start to get to know each other as though we're learning about people, our own human race for the first time, with new eyes, He says when you're acclimated to moving through dark tunnels for a long time, you'll have new eyes that see when you get into a bright new world. You'll be seeing with new eyes. And he also says that he will be there. He'll be there. And I see him literally as a part of each and every one of us. It means a lot to me. I see Reggie's smiling face in the heart of everybody. And we're all carrying a piece of Reggie the African Alien with us. It makes me feel so happy because we can all love each other. We can all be a part of each other. And that's all that really matters, is the love and the connection. Not just from our world and between each other, but with other worlds far, far away from here. From distant planets and galaxies. That we could start being ambassadors of love and receiving ambassadors of love from all over the universe. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Well, that's all I'm going to share for this video. It was really lovely. I want to thank you all for watching. If any of you are interested in working with me one-on-one for a psychic session, please visit me at my website at abbeynormalswisdomquest.com. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.